after the war, when everything was pretty dreary and drab, the excitement of places like tropical islands, adventure, romance, had a great appeal. And the same applies to the film. Had it come out a year later or a year earlier, it might not have been as successful.
The man who created James Bond didn't want Sean Connery. Ian Fleming had a list: David Niven, Rex Harrison, Cary Grant, educated men, refined men, men who looked like they'd been to the right schools. Then the producers brought him a former milkman from Edinburgh who'd spent more time bodybuilding than acting, and Fleming's verdict was blunt. He wanted Commander Bond, he said, not an overgrown stuntman. Then he watched Dr. No. And by the time Fleming wrote his next novel, he'd given James Bond a Scottish father. He rewrote the character to match the actor. That's how completely Connery took him.
This is your third James Bond picture, and I'm sure that as far as picturegoers are concerned, they could see more and more, but how do you feel about this yourself?
Oh, I think it's splendid. I think it's very good entertainment. They obviously like it, and one every year, 14 months, is a sort of good, healthy issue.
Now, James Bond really conjures up a picture of blondes, bullets and booze. Do you find that people expect you to be like this in real life?
I don't meet a great deal of people, really. I've been so busy. I'm on my fourth film in 1 year, so the chances of meeting people are pretty remote. And only other than going to the theatre or going out to a restaurant to eat or something, or driving somewhere, I leave the house 7 in the morning and get back at 7 at night. So the chances of boozing with blondes and bullets are pretty remote.
6 more men have carried the role since. 60 years of arguments in pubs and comment sections and podcasts, and it has never once been close. Even Roger Moore, who played Bond more times than anyone, spent his whole life saying Connery was the best there'd ever been. And here's what almost nobody manages. He created the most recognizable character in film history, and then he refused to be swallowed by it. He walked away in 1967, came back, walked away again, won an Oscar playing a Chicago beat cop, played Indiana Jones's father and stole the film from Harrison Ford, commanded a Soviet submarine with a Scottish accent, and dared anyone to complain. Most actors who create something that iconic spend the rest of their lives trapped inside it. Connery did the opposite. He built the cage, walked out of it, and somehow became more famous as himself than as the character. Fleming called him a roughneck who wasn't his idea of Bond at all. Connery, for his part, called Fleming a snob. Both of them were probably right, and it didn't matter, because the moment that first film hit the screen, the argument was over permanently. So how good was Sean Connery really? Let's ask the people who stood next to him.
Sean Connery, let me tell you a Sean Connery story.
Uh-oh.
He was up for The Untouchables.
Sean Connery in The Untouchables.
I was up that year for, I think it was Cry Freedom.
Denzel Washington in Cry Freedom.
And he comes out to present an award and got a 3-minute standing ovation for presenting an award.
Wow.
I went to get the coats. I was able to get the coats because I know I ain't winning tonight. So now we're leaving. I'm leaving without the Oscar, right? But as I'm leaving, I see the back of where they're doing getting the meal ready, the food ready for the governor's ball. I see a big tray. I'm like, I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something. Then my mother told me to get the flower arrangement. It's a true story.
He actually got pissed off at me because I didn't know how many head of cattle that I owned, right? He says, "You're sure you so you raise cattle, you know?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." "So, how many head of cattle have you got?" I don't know. He said, "Well, surely you must know." You know, he was really upset with me. But the best thing about the dinner is that we were at the house of Andy Vanya, who was Hungarian, and his new wife was making goulash. Now, if you haven't heard Sean Connery utter the word goulash, you've missed a great treat.
He always called me Mr. Nash. Mr. Nash, can I talk to you? And I was like, shit, every time he'd say that, I go, yeah. We became friends. And I actually didn't think Sean was the kind of guy that was going to like me. I don't know why, but he did. He was good to me. And I learned a lot because my eyes were open. I wish I was a better actor when I did The Untouchables, but I was where I was at. I go to the set every day, even if I wasn't working. I like what's happening.
I met Sean Connery once only. I was interviewing him about a film he'd made. We all had a drink or two. It was a press reception, a drink or two afterwards. It was a very nice interview, of course. And then at the end of the interview, sometime after, somebody on my team said, you know, Ken does an impression of you. And it wasn't a great impression, I have to say, but I used to. And at the time, I sort of looked a bit like him, because I had a beard and I had some hair, as did he at the time. But I was, I was a good bit younger. Anyway, we met again, and he said, they tell me you do an impression of me. I said, oh, no, I don't do that. He said, they also tell me you think you look like me. And I said, well, maybe on a very good day. And Sean said, and me on a bad day. Which I thought was rude, but it made me laugh.
People like doing Hunt for Red October with Sean Connery. We go to a party, and the producer of the movie Hunt for Red October has a party at his home in Beverly Hills. And Sean's there with his wife. And Sean's wife, Micheline Connery, is this tiny little French woman. She's about 2 feet high. And she's really small. And she is like this lion tamer. She's like Sean's manager and handler, And we're at this party, and Sean's standing there, and he's like the most beautiful guy you've ever seen in your whole life. You guys can't believe how good looking he is. And the waiters are walking by with like canapes and champagne, and the guy walks by, and Sean goes to reach for a glass of champagne, and his wife goes, whack! No, Sean! I do not want you to drink the champagne. No. And he's like a little boy. He's like, another waiter walks by with a big tray of pastries and everything, and Sean goes to reach, and she goes, whack! No, Sean! I do not want you to eat the pastries. And I'm thinking, this guy's like, he's James Bond. And his wife's treating him like he's a little boy going to getting ready for the wrestling match tomorrow, you know what I mean? And I'll never forget this as long as he turns to me and goes, it's not going to be very much of a party, is it? I thought.
In a motion picture called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, if my arithmetic is correct, Sean Connery, in order to be your father, would have had to father you at the age of 12.
But you know Sean.
Oh, God.
He could have done it.
Right.
These people called me and they said, listen, there's this radio contest. They're going to give $10,000, or this trip to the Bahamas, which is worth $10,000, to the most famous person who calls in. Mm. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. And they said, no, we'd like to do it. They ran an auto painting shop. They said, we'd like to do it on behalf of our auto painting shop, but if you did it, we were going to donate everything to the Children's Hospital.
Oh, that's
to the Joe DiMaggio.
So then it's fine.
The most famous person they had by the Friday, which was the deadline, was Lonnie Anderson. So Lonnie Anderson had called in, the weather guy.
Yeah.
With 10 minutes to go on the deadline, I called the auto body people. I said, listen, I'll make the call.
That's great.
And
good
so
for you.
I called them up, and I did the interview for 5 minutes, and I
Very
was
nice.
feeling good about myself. And I saw the people later that night, and I, hey, all right, we did it. And they said, no, we lost. And,
really?
And I said, Lonnie Anderson beat me? And it turned out that with about a minute to go on the deadline, Sean Connery had called.
There was an old sort of committee member called Mick Murphy, and Mick used to always say to me when I was playing with the Rose, he says, one thing, Pat, he says, you've been a regular in Bonner Grose's team. And he says, that big actor guy. And I'm like, this big actor guy. He says, the big guy from Fountain Bridge. And it suddenly dawned on me who he was talking about. He was talking about Sean Connery. And he says, you were a regular in Bonner Grose's team. He says, Connery, in and out. Well liked with the players though. He says he was really well liked with the players. And I often used to wonder to myself, you know, when Sean Connery, you know, moved on to other things and living in the Bahamas or Bermuda, lying at the poolside, wondering what might have been had he got a game for Bonner Grose.
You have to be able to do a Sean Connery.
Well, I can't quite get lisp. Sean is was the ultimate alpha male.
Was he a joy to be around? Or was he difficult? Was he intense? You're watching your words.
I am. I think he and Michael Caine were the great British stars of their generation. But Connery was an extraordinary man. But one always sensed that there was a toughness there that never actually relaxed, really.
Wow.
He was the true alpha. I think the strongest alpha that I've ever met, really.
Intimidating?
No, just 100% male.
And what was Sean Connery like? Because you became very close with him, and he's still with us, of course, but...
Well, Sean was amazing because I met Sean when we were very young, and I was at a party on the Saturday night, and he came to the party after the show, you know, at about 11 o'clock. And I was there with two girls, and the reason for that was because in those days they used to say, bring a bottle and a bird, a bottle of wine and a bird, which is a girl. I know it's very you know, but I'm a big feminist, so it doesn't matter. And I couldn't afford a bottle of wine. I didn't have enough money for it, so I bought two birds. And Sean came in and looked around the room, and he saw me, and I immediately became his new best friend, and he hadn't even spoken to him. And he was over, and that's how we became friends.
Amazing.